In this video, I'm going to be replacing the brake discs and pads on the front of this K12 Nissan Micra. Followers of my channel might recognise this car. It's actually my mother-in-law's car and it's featured a couple of times on the channel for various jobs that I've done on it for her. But she's actually sold it now, so I actually bought it off her. And my intention is to do it up, polish a bit of money into it and sell it. So the first thing to do is I need to address the front brake pads and discs. And then what we're going to do is we're going to give the car a bit of a polish and try and address a couple of dents on the bodywork. And I have a set of wheel trims to put on it, and there's an exhaust heat shield that needs to be replaced as well. Few jobs to do, so we're going to try and get a lot of it done in this video, but I'll probably do the kind of the final polish on another separate video. But let's get stuck in anyway and get those brake discs off the car, and I'll show you how bad they are. I saved you the bother of watching me take off the wheels. If you can't take a wheel off the car, this job is probably not for you, to be honest with you. Anyway, you can see here this disc is entirely wiped and the pads are down to the metal, so this is long overdue. In actual fact, the weird thing is it's not as bad on the other side. The disc definitely needs changing, but if you're doing one side, you always do the other side anyway. So first thing first is we need to free off that caliper. On the back of the caliper you will find two bolts which have an 18mm head on them, so they need to be removed anyway, and then that will allow the caliper to fall away. You need to have something prepared to hold onto the caliper just so you can put it up out of the way, and then we're going to start looking at changing out the disc. It goes without saying that you need to be careful when you're working on brakes, and just make sure you're very methodical in your approach and that you check and recheck everything. But in reality, so long as you're kind of reasonably sensible, you shouldn't be too afraid of doing the job yourself, you know what I mean? It's all bolts and seized sliding pins. I'm going to have a look at that afterwards, I'd say. We may end up looking at that situation as well. Well, they're about as bad as you're going to get. Right, let's just get that cable tied up out of the way first. Alright, so that stops you putting any stress on the rubber brake hose there as well. So now that's the disc accessible. Now you'll see there is a Torx headed bolt here, which is going to be great fun to remove, I'm guessing. But we need to get that out anyway, so that's the next thing. This is a T40 Torx. Now don't go stripping it out. If it's too tight, you'll just need to get some heat on it. I'm thinking I should have left the caliper on before I did this. And get something through there to actually lock up the disc so it's not trying to turn on me. Right, now it's hotter than the fires of hell, so we're just going to have to give it another go. Got it. Bit of heat, that's what you need. This is actually just for locating the disc onto the hub. Once you've got the wheel on, the wheel bolts actually will hold the disc in place. So that's why it's so small. It really is only for just keeping it in place when you're actually getting everything else back together. So anyway, there's our annoying little bolt, and we can get this out of the way now. So there we go, so there's the old disc, and you can see it's completely wiped on this side and not far off the mark on this side. Alright, here's our new disc, so let's get this fitted now. So you would, let's see, we get that around there like that, and get our little bolt there. I'm actually going to put some copper grease on that. I know I'm selling this car, but I don't want to be that guy. You know, a bit of copper grease will go a long way on that. Now, there was only one fitted. I don't know whether there's only one when the car is manufactured from new, but anyway, we're just putting one back in. All right, so we'll nip that up now. Again, no need to swing out of it, but just fully tight. Good enough. Right, that's fine now. Okay, so next thing we need to do is we need to have a look at this caliper and see what needs to be done on this. I would imagine that the sliding pins are probably seized in it. I hate these sliding calipers, to be honest with you. They're an awful problematic piece of junk. Older cars used to have a piston on each side, and they would you wouldn't have the sliding pins as a result of that. But these always seize up, and as a result of it, they... Oh, look at that. It's not seized up. Well, I guess I'll just shut my mouth then, won't I? Now, what I do have is I have a brake caliper wind back tool, and I'm going to show you how to use that. Worthwhile investment, only 25 € is all it costs, and if you're going to be doing brakes the odd time, it's a worthwhile piece of kit to have in your toolbox in the bottom drawer. Typically enough, there's a piece missing from my brake piston wind back tool, so I'm going to just have to do the old-fashioned way and use a channel locks. So the bit that was missing was a kind of a collar that goes over the top of this, like that, and basically braces the wind back tool against the back of the caliper. So anyway, I made a new one out of the old brake pad. Annoying having to do, but if it works, it works. So we'll just go with it. That'll go in there like that, perfect. And then now we need to get our wind back tool in position and get something to brace it against there, because the little nodger that goes on the thing actually drops into the middle of the piston, which is less than ideal. Anyway, look, we'll get it sorted. All right, so I'm going to just drop that socket in there in the middle of the piston. Okay, that'll do. Wind that in enough. All right, so now our little piece here should go on. Yeah, that's grand. Okay, now that's more like it. So now we're actually pushing on something. So now I'm going to get a socket and I'm going to buzz that in. And we'll see if we can get that to go home. All right. All right, so now we can get our new pads in. All right, this is copper grease. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a little bit of this copper grease on the areas where the pads actually slide. Now, obviously, you're not going to be putting this where the friction surfaces of the pads are. We'll just use it sparingly. Tiny little dab, as I said, goes a long way in this stuff. Oh, by the way, what I would suggest you do, and it's something I did off camera, is put a little bit of penetrating oil in behind the, or brake fluid actually be better again, in behind the rubber seal before you push it back, so that if there is any kind of roughness on the brake, the piston, it'll ride over that a lot easier. Unfortunately, what can happen is, after you replace the pads, because of the fact that you've wound the pistons back, you can end up having leaks that you wouldn't have otherwise had. So it just does sometimes happen. Now the piston has to go back basically all the way. Here's our pad number 1 will go in here. Okay, actually we're going to put a little bit of the copper grease on the back of the pad as well. Obviously not on the front, just on the back. And again, sparingly, just to lightly butter a little bit of it on, and that'll do us. Right, so we need to try and get them flat up against the backing. So what I'm going to do is just get my little drift. I'm just going to put it along there. I'm going to just tap the lug very gently and just tap it into place. Okay, so I'm just going to clear out any areas where there's sliding mechanisms here. Just give them a little bit of a scrape with a flat-bladed screwdriver. I don't have a chisel that's small enough to get in here, so I'm just using a screwdriver just to gently scrape out these kind of paths where the sliders go. Alright, so here we are. We'll try again. Now they're all freed up and everything now, the little clips on the sides. So that should... Oh yeah, perfect. Right, that's grand. So they should just pop in like that then anyway. So that's the pads in place. So now what we can do is we can actually refit the caliper. But before we do that, we need to just degrease the disc. Alright, so that's that done. So now what we can do is we can cut the cable tie and get our caliper refitted. Okay, so I've put some blue Loctite on the bolts and we can just get them lined up. These are bolts you do not want to be putting copper grease on because you want them to stay where they are. So a bit of Loctite will actually do the job nicely. These bolts need to be tight. So right, they're done up. Okay, so that's that side actually done now. So you can see the sliders are actually moving fine. So that's free floating. Once you put a bit of brake pressure on that, that will lock up. But yeah, so that's 100% now. So now we'll go and do the other side. Bit of underbody seal there just to stem the tide of corrosion. Job's a good one. Okay, so mechanical repairs are all complete on this Micra now. Front brake discs and pads on the front are all replaced. I cleaned and adjusted the back brakes as well and fixed the exhaust heat shield. Basically just did a bit of lock wiring on the missing fasteners, and I replaced that exhaust gasket which was gone completely flat. So it should sound a lot better and stop a lot better, and I'm going to just do a final check over the fluids in the engine bay, make sure that everything is as it should be there, but it was only serviced a couple of thousand miles ago, so it really shouldn't be that bad. It questions why the brakes are that bad, but anyway, look, there we go. So let's get it down off the ramp. Next on the agenda, aside from cleaning the garage because it's a bomb site now, is giving the car a good deep clean polish and repairing a few dents and that here and there, and just getting it generally spruced up, and I have a new set of wheel trims for it as well. So we're just going to basically polish a bit of money into it, get it ready for sale, and then stick it up on Done Deal, Facebook Markets, adverts, all that sort of stuff as well, and see if we can shift it on. Just going to throw a little drop of oil into it. It's not particularly low, but it's kind of between the min and max mark, so I just like to get it up to the max. Bang on the money. Perfect. Right. These are brilliant engines, by the way. They go forever. They're a proper Japanese designed engine actually, and really, really good. I've never really known any of them to ever give trouble, to be honest with you. Obviously there's going to be different experiences to me with them, but I personally think, generally speaking, actually these cars are very good. So last thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to connect up the fault code reader and just make sure that there's no legacy faults stored in the memory or anything like that, because if there is, I'd just like to take care of any of that kind of thing as well before we try and sell it. The OBD port is located just below the fuse panel in this particular car, so we're going to connect up my little Carista module and see if we have any faults. So let's start the engine first. Okay, so we have 7 ECUs scanned and 2 faults detected. You wouldn't think this little car has 7 ECUs to be scanned, but there you go. So body convenience system has CAN communication circuit in it, and then if you scroll down, intelligent power distribution module engine room, maybe overstating it a bit as well, CAN communication circuit as well. So it's the same fault in 2 different locations. Okay, so we're going to try and reset those faults and see if they're clear. Not major showstoppers I wouldn't have said now, in fairness. Your engine is running, shut it off, turn the ignition on and try resetting it again. Well, alright then. Okay. So, reset. Okay, that one reset. So now body convenience system. See if that one resets. Happy days. 7 ECUs scanned, 0 faults detected. That's what we want to see. Okay, so now the next thing to do is, I'm curious to see what it says in customize as to what sort of features are available on this car that you can actually modify. There's all sorts of little bits and pieces to come up in some cars actually. I know on my Toyota, for example, it's well, my wife's Toyota, should I say, it has a few different things like how long the lights stay on for when you arrive home, and that really annoying reversing beeper that I had to turn off. So yeah, so this has daytime running lights. So daytime running lights, no. Use tail lights as daytime running lights, yes. Use low beams as daytime running lights, yes. So you could actually turn on DRLs here on this if you were that way inclined. I'm not going to, but locking doors and alarm. Unlock doors via remote. Wipers and washer. Auto enable rear wiper when front wipers on and reverse gear engaged. That's cool. Didn't even know that had that. Automatic locking. Relock doors automatically if you unlock but do not open a door in 2 minutes. Little tip, by the way, if you're ever trying to push a car and you're struggling to get it moving in the first instance, push it by the top of the wheel because you get that leverage effect. So it's a lot easier to get it started by just pushing the top of the wheel. It's not sounding too happy, is it? So I'm going to leave it here on this. So basically everything is as it should be really on this car now. Brakes are all sorted. The exhaust noise is gone. It sounds much better now and is ticking over fairly nice. Probably could benefit from a set of spark plugs, to be honest with you, but I'm not going to go that far on it. I mean, yeah, I suppose it probably could. Maybe if the motor factors have them in stock, I'll throw a set in. But anyway, yeah, other than that, she's good to go. Next thing to do, get the bodywork all straightened out and polished up and see how she looks then. Throw the new set of wheel trims onto it and we'll see how it goes. So join me in the next video where we get that done and yeah, chat to you soon. Thanks for watching and please do hit the subscribe button before you go.